Hello everybody, hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm outside again in the nice weather, enjoying it while it lasts. And first of all, if you hear the strange chopping sound in the background, my husband is again over here on one of our properties trying to clear the weeds off the land, so kind of unavoidable. Today I wanted to talk about something that not even that long ago I had a problem with, and something that I believed about myself and about turning to Christ. And just recently I have discovered that I was so wrong. And I did have a video up. I think it was very early last year. Yeah, it was very early last year, I think, 2023. It was called Spiritually Drained. Now, I think I deleted the video from my computer because I had it set as a 4K, so it was taking up a lot of space. Plus, I had already decided to take it off of my channel. I'm not sure why, except that maybe in my subconscious, I was feeling like it didn't need to be there. And so even a long time ago, I took it down. But I still have the audio for some reason, and I had it up on Spotify at one time. So I'm going to play a short clip from that video, and then I'm going to talk about it. A lot of Christians probably might disagree with me when it comes to certain movies. And those movies are like The Devil's Advocate, Constantine, anything that's got to do with demons, the fallen angels, or the devil. I love that stuff. I always have. I think part of my personality, probably a big part of my personality, comes from those kinds of movies and books and TV shows. I have a dark sense of spirituality. I'm not your typical happy every day, light and love in everything, try to be positive about everything type of Christian. I'm not like that, and I never will be. I don't think so. I don't think I was built with that kind of personality. Now, I do remember that there were several comments from people who had their head on their shoulders more than I did back then, that said that that was wrong, and that I can't remember exactly everything they said, but basically it was along the lines of, that's not the way you should be thinking as a follower of Christ. And they were absolutely right. Because recently I have realized that a lot of the movies, let's start with the movies. A lot of the movies that I kept, I got rid of a lot of stuff. I got rid of a lot of music, books, anything that was secular, that, not everything that was secular, but things that had the potential to turn me away from Christ, or to put me in a weird mood, a negative mood, to manipulate me or to tempt me into wanting to go back into the things that I used to do, which was writing, reading, watching, and listening to things that were of a dark nature. And I justified my love, I use that word very loosely, I probably shouldn't even use that word, but back then I did. I loved writing dark fantasy and things about demons and all that kind of stuff. And I justified continuing to be able to do that by saying, well, basically it's showing people how demons manipulate us. And I wrote a book, well, 2 books. I'm not going to say the titles here because I don't in any way want to publicize them or, give them any attention, because I don't want them to have attention. I even took them off sale. In fact, I've taken off 3 books I have taken off of sale everywhere. The other ones I can't, because they're technically not mine anymore because they were bought by publishing houses. Another series that I left up did because also of contractual things. I'm not exactly sure if I can take them down because there's contracts in other countries and with audio books and things like that. So I'm not sure if I can legally take those down right now. But the other ones I did take down. So back to the writing about demons and this dark spirituality stuff. At that time, when I did that video, I was still in that transition. I wasn't sure what I was doing. I know which way I wanted to go, which is toward Christ and do what I needed to do to be a follower of Christ, to love Christ and show him how much I love him, and to give up my secular worldly life passions and desires. And I kept justifying that dark spirituality by saying, well, it's evil, good versus evil. And I'm just showing how demons are, how they manipulate us. But the real truth is that the enemy manipulated me and wanted me to believe that this was true and wanted me to continue writing this dark, evil stuff, even though I believe in God and you know, there's a line that has to be drawn in there somewhere. So the revelation came recently when I was watching Constantine, one of my all-time favorite movies, probably in my top 10 favorite movies of all time was Constantine with Keanu Reeves, and also The Devil's Advocate. I had already decided probably 6 or 7 months ago that as much as I love The Devil's Advocate, I consider it a masterpiece of a movie, it's still not for Christian audiences, even though it seems like it would be. Because it's this man fighting against the devil and sacrificing himself in the end. All of these good things that so many Christians are so often duped by. We think that it's good because it has some kind of moralistic message or some kind of redemptive value to it. So we think that it's okay as a Christian to watch certain things, listen to certain music, read certain books, etc. But that it's just, it's a trick. It's a deception to keep us trapped in the enemy's snare. And that's what the enemy does. He lies to us constantly. He tries to make us internalize these things, justify these things that we shouldn't do. And that really, once you come to Christ, deep down, you really don't want to do it. That's the thing, is that I started having serious reservations about a lot of these movies, and in particular, that I just cherished, that I had had for so long. I have seen them probably hundreds of times, Constantine and The Devil's Advocate being one of them. I molded 2 of my books after, not molded them, but was inspired by after these particular movies. And when it really comes down to it, like for instance, when I said I had watched Constantine recently, just probably a couple weeks ago, and I saw something that I didn't see before, and that regardless of the good versus evil and the good winning in the end, there was so much wrong with this movie that I knew that I just really didn't want to watch it anymore. Like The Devil's Advocate, both of these movies, they glorify the enemy. Even though he's the bad guy and he is who he is, they still glorified Satan. They made him look cool. They made him have this attitude with swagger, and I know that a lot of people who watch those movies, they actually kind of root for the bad guy because he's so cool. And so that has been a big revelation for me. And the most important part is that I'm relieved that I have come to this conclusion that I need to get rid of all of this other stuff that I was holding on to because I thought before that it was okay. And something else that I have come to realize is that I enjoy watching family-friendly movies and television. I recently bought, when I went to Arkansas, I ordered it off of Amazon, I think it was, the entire Little House on the Prairie series. And I've just been enjoying it so much. Watching something that I know is not going to have any sexual content. There's not going to be anything offensive. There will not be cursing in it. And it's very refreshing to watch this kind of stuff. And another thing that I've been watching a lot lately, which I never thought I would, I used to make fun of it, is stuff like Hallmark movies, like Christmas Hallmark, and little wholesome romantic stories, but a lot of Christian TV, mostly movies. The point is, I have just really discovered that all of these movies that I have been holding on to are just they're not me anymore. And one of probably in the top 5 favorite movies was Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's one of those movies that it's not just a movie, or it wasn't just a movie to me. It was a lifestyle. It reminded me of my past when I was heavily into writing about vampires, dreaming about vampires, fantasizing about them, wanting to be one, that and like Interview with the Vampire. But Bram Stoker's Dracula was the book for me, and it was the movie. And that's definitely a masterpiece, way more than Constantine or The Devil's Advocate, I meant to say. And yeah, I just loved that movie so much. And I never thought that I would be standing here in this moment telling you that I don't think I could ever watch it again. And I have no desire to. And that goes with so many movies. And I recently, just a couple of days ago, went through all of my DVDs that I brought with me from the United States, my cherished possessions, and I got rid of almost everything. As you can see here in this video, I got rid of full TV shows, Dexter, Supernatural, Xena, Breaking Bad, Vikings, Being Human, Orange is the New Black. I got rid of these, like, tons of money worth of TV series and movies, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it one bit. Never thought I would say that. That's what happens when you truly in your heart want to give up your secular life and live for Jesus Christ. So that is the same with my books. I've talked about this before in a previous video called Is Your Passion Sinful? It's also titled in the description Why I Gave Up a Successful Writing Career. But the thumbnail says, Is Your Passion Sinful? And I describe in detail why I gave up writing secular works. So that's where I've come to recently, is this point where I don't want anything to do with any of this. Just please excuse I think it's a weed eater sound in the background. There's going to be a lot of noise out here. I thought it was going to be really quiet, but here comes a motorcycle. Yeah, it's super busy today, so there's a lot going on, I guess. I don't know, but it's kind of early, so I didn't really expect this much activity. A lot of people around here don't even get up till like 10 o'clock. So, okay. But, you know, I wanted to talk about also how wholesome books and TV have really changed my perspective. Like I said before, I never thought I would watch a Hallmark movie. Never thought in my life. I used to make fun of it all the time, how cheesy it was, how predictable. And they are very predictable. I can't deny that. But they're also refreshing, because for the longest time, for many years, even long before I came to Christ, I hated watching anything that had sexual content in it. I hated it. I would cringe, I would look the other way, I would be just kind of put off, I would be start talking about why is this even in this movie? It doesn't do it any justice. It's there just for the sake of the audience having some kind of sexual content, which is like a lot of books. And I fell into that trap when I wrote my bestseller. And it was kind of sad, but at the same time, of course I was glad for the blessing. I was so happy to be financially stable for the first time in my life when I wrote that best-selling book. But I included detailed sex scenes in that book because I had it in my head that that's the only way it's going to go anywhere. And I had written and published 3 books prior to that book that didn't really do much, and they didn't have sexual content. And I thought to myself, okay, I see what all these other people, all these other authors who are making a success, making a name for themselves, and I read their books. They were really good books, and the one thing I noticed about all of them was the sexual content. So that's what I did. I included the same in mine, and lo and behold, that's what happened. The book skyrocketed to the top of the list, and I had a lot of success with it. And then after that, that's what was expected of me, and I didn't like that. Every time I wrote a book after that, I felt obligated, like it was mandatory that I include these disgusting scenes for the sake of the reader who is still troubled with erotica and porn addiction, or I've never really understood that. I just never understood that, but there's so many, and it's not just men. Men have the porn addiction, but women have more, they lean more toward the erotica addiction. They don't want to read anything that doesn't have sexual content in it, and it's really sad. It really is, because they're so misguided and so manipulated by the enemy that they're stuck in this cycle of enjoying reading about someone else having sex. And so I don't like that. I never have liked it. Even when I was making money from it, I never liked it. And then, of course, when I stopped including that in my books, that was, I don't know if that's one of the main factors, but I do recall a lot of people commenting about, where's the steam? There's no steam in this book. Steam means sexual content. And slowly after that, my sales just kind of plummeted. And I'm sure it was due to a lot of factors, but it was mainly, I think, probably that was one of the biggest factors, was that I stopped including sex scenes in my book. And I just, movies that I love, Titanic, for instance, that movie, even though it doesn't show them engaging, it shows enough. And even that, I just felt was unnecessary. That movie does not need that scene in that book for it to be a great movie. If they just kissed, or, I just don't see that needing to be in there. And that was another reason why I liked Constantine so much too, was because Keanu Reeves and Rachel Weisz's characters did not have sexual contact. They didn't even kiss. They would come close to kissing and never kiss, not even at the end of the movie. And I love that. I love that. And there's just so many. Some of the greatest movies ever made did not have sexual content. And one of them is the Lord of the Rings trilogy. No sex anywhere in those movies, and they don't need them. So my whole point is I enjoy watching wholesome films, family-friendly films, and that is why, because of the sex content, the sexual content, the vulgar language, which I don't use anymore, and I don't like it anymore. I just think that it's unnecessary, just unbecoming of women in general, men too, but definitely in women. Violence, I'm really low on the violence too. I know that, you know, a lot of these things, you know, it's okay to include them because, you know, for the sake of it's what humans do, and we need to show human life through a realistic lens, and not everything needs to be predictable and cheesy all the time. But I think it needs to be done with a little more class than how people do it today. It's really sad that everybody has to go all out on the violence, all out on the sexual content, all out on the vulgar language. And it's just refreshing to watch movies and television and read books that does not have that content in it whatsoever. There's nothing worse, well, there's a lot of things worse, but you know, it's just a figure of speech, than you're reading a book or watching a movie or whatever, and you're really enjoying it, and then all of a sudden, bam, out of left field, there's a really graphic scene that you just could have done without. It just takes away the moment. And so that's what I aim to do, as well as in my writing. I have been inspired recently to try to possibly write a book series inspired by Little House on the Prairie. And I want to write for everyone. I don't want to exclude anyone. And the best way to do that is to write family-friendly, wholesome books. And that's what I want to do. So I just want to kind of talk about that today, get it off my chest. It's a recent revelation, and I just really felt like I needed to tell you all that. And I know too that I bounce around a lot when I'm talking freely and I'm not reading a script. And I'm not a good talker, especially when I'm in front of a camera. You know, I can have long conversations with someone about these kinds of things and sometimes never miss a beat. But when I step in front of a camera, it's very difficult for me to get my head on, to remember the things that I want to say. And I start getting a little frustrated because I know there are so many things that I had intended to say that will always be left out. And then I will be like, man, I didn't say anything about this. I completely left this off out of the whole episode. This would have been good. This would have been good, because I'm a writer. I'm not a speaker. I remember someone commented on one of my videos once that they couldn't trust anything I said because everything was obviously edited, because there's a lot of chopping and stuff probably, which there is. And a lot of my episodes, I'm reading from a script, but I painstakingly wrote that script and wanted to make sure everything is said how it needs to be said, and I didn't want to leave anything out. I wanted to cover all the bases. And so the only way for me to do that is to read from a script. Now I could also I have a teleprompter app. I probably will use that a little bit in the future, so there's less chopping, but I'm not going to do it because someone else said. I'm going to do it because it might be easier for me to use the teleprompter than to be reading from a piece of paper and trying to memorize it. Even like, I can't even memorize a whole paragraph. I've mentioned before that I had a serious concussion back in 2022 here in Mexico, and ever since then I've had memory problems. And a lot of times when I'm reading from a script, I can't even remember the whole sentence. I have to stop many times or in the middle of a sentence and remember what word came next. So yeah, I have a lot of difficulty with that. So yes, a lot of you noticed that a lot of my episodes are scripted, that there's a lot of editing, a lot of chopping, but at least I get to say everything I want to say. And I do write all of my scripted episodes. Sometimes it takes me a couple weeks to finish writing an episode. So there's a lot of effort put into it. So please don't think that because it's scripted that there's no effort and that I didn't write it or something along those lines. But to the point here, I probably did leave something out. It's most likely that I did. And I will go back later and I will find that I left an entire part out of this episode that should have been in there. So all I'm going to say is that if that happens, which it probably will, I will do another episode on it in the future. And it might even be scripted. I don't know. But that's what we get when I freestyle it. I'm not a speaker, like I said. I just talk. I could have all this stuff in my mind, knowing what to say, and the moment the camera comes on, I'm just kind of stumbling over everything. I'm jumping from one subject to another, and I don't like it, but it is what it is. I really can't change it. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope you were inspired and motivated maybe to rethink your secular entertainment, forms of entertainment. There are so many things that as a Christian we still hold on to, and we have excuses and reasons for it, but listen to the Holy Spirit. If it's something that you feel deep down you need to get rid of, you need to stop watching, you need to stop partaking, you need to stop spending your money on, listen to that voice, because it's telling you for a reason. I feel so much better. I feel lighter having this stuff out of my life. And every time I find something new, I sometimes now scramble to get rid of it. And I just feel so much better. I feel closer to Christ because Christ is always there. I know we, a lot of times, especially me, feel like he's not here. Like you don't feel him anymore. Use that word, I don't feel God. I don't feel Christ's presence in my life, but he's always there. And the reason why we get to that point is because of us. It's not because of him. It's because we're allowing worldly things to manipulate us and to put a wedge between us and God and to make him feel distant. But he's not. He's just being covered by something dark that doesn't want you to have a relationship with Christ. So that's my episode for today. May God bless you, your family, and your life.